The Blackwood Mansion stood atop the hills of Beverly Hills, its golden lights shimmering against the extravagant Los Angeles night. A lavish cocktail party was in full swing, filling the vast estate with the clinking of glasses, jazz music drifting through the warm air, and the occasional laughter of the wealthy elite. Women draped in silk dresses hugged their curves, while men in tailored suits exuded effortless charm. Together, they painted a picture of high society at its finest. Among them, Virginia Blackwood walked with undeniable authority. At 52, she remained an enchanting figure, her platinum blonde hair cascading in soft waves, her tan skin flawless, and her body sculpted through years of dedication to self-care. A crimson satin gown embraced her every curve, while a dazzling diamond necklace reflected the golden glow of the chandeliers. She was not just the hostess of the party, she was its main attraction. Men's gazes followed her with undisguised desire, while women whispered in hushed voices, their tones tinged with envy. Virginia didn't care. She thrived on attention, on the power she held over the room. After a costly divorce from her billionaire husband 2 years ago, she was free, unburdened by obligations and ready to indulge in a life of unrestrained pleasure, always surrounded by young, ambitious men. With a martini glass in hand, she strolled toward the poolside bar. As she approached, a strikingly handsome young man caught her eye. He stood tall, his well-defined muscles subtly visible beneath a crisp white shirt. His sun-kissed skin and piercing blue eyes made him look like he had stepped straight out of a Hollywood film. Virginia smirked, taking a slow sip of her drink before sauntering closer. "Who invited you?" she asked, her voice dripping with intrigue. The young man turned to her, flashing a confident smile. "I'm Lucas. A friend brought me along. Seems like I have the pleasure of meeting the queen of the night." Virginia chuckled softly. "You have a way with words, Lucas." She traced a finger along the rim of her glass. "And what do you do?" "I'm a fitness trainer. Just moved to Los Angeles." Lucas took a sip of his drink, his gaze locked onto hers. "And you?" Virginia tilted her head slightly, amused. "Me? I'm not old enough for you to call me ma'am, if that's what you're wondering." She stepped closer, her lips curving into a playful smirk. "I'm Virginia. And this is my party." Lucas raised an eyebrow, intrigued but unfazed. "Then it's an honor to meet the queen." The music shifted to a deep, rhythmic beat, and guests flocked toward the poolside dance floor, where the DJ was setting the mood. Virginia seized the moment, taking Lucas's hand and pulling him toward the dance floor. Under the pulsating lights, their bodies moved in sync, hers fluid and seductive, his firm yet controlled. The tension between them crackled like an unspoken challenge. "Do you always play this safe?" Virginia teased, her hand gliding over his chest. Lucas smirked, his eyes gleaming with defiance. "I just play by the rules." Virginia was intrigued. It had been a while since she met a man who could match her energy without instantly succumbing to her allure. Most young men she encountered melted under her touch, but Lucas was different. That only made her more determined to play the game. The party stretched into the late hours. Champagne bottles popped open endlessly, laughter and music blended into a symphony of indulgence. Virginia took Lucas's hand again, leading him away from the crowd toward her private balcony. From here, the entire city of Los Angeles glittered like a sea of lights beneath the night sky. Lucas leaned against the railing, gazing out over the endless expanse. "It's insane, isn't it?" he mused. "This city, like a never-ending party." Virginia lifted her glass to her lips, her gaze resting on him with interest. "So, are you ready to be part of it?" Lucas turned, meeting her eyes. A charged silence stretched between them. Tension, curiosity, temptation, all hanging in the air like an electric current. Virginia placed her drink down, stepping closer. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the collar of his shirt as she whispered with quiet authority, "Tomorrow. 9 a.m. My estate. I want to see if you're as interesting as you seem." Lucas smirked, his amusement evident. "All right. But I'm not so easy to conquer." Virginia let out a satisfied smile. She knew the game had just begun. The next morning, as the sun cast golden streaks across the sprawling Blackwood estate, Virginia lounged in her silk robe, sipping espresso on the terrace. She was in no rush. If Lucas was as intriguing as he claimed, he would arrive precisely on time. At exactly 9 a.m., a sleek black car pulled up the long driveway. Virginia smiled to herself. Punctuality was a rare trait in young men who thought the world revolved around them. Lucas stepped out, wearing a fitted black t-shirt and jeans that hugged his athletic form perfectly. His confidence was unshaken, but Virginia could sense the slight tension in his posture. He was playing along, but he wasn't entirely sure what he had signed up for. "Welcome," Virginia greeted, her voice smooth like honey. "I hope you don't scare easily." Lucas smirked. "I don't." She led him inside, through grand hallways adorned with marble and gold accents, until they reached a private indoor pool, its water shimmering like liquid sapphire under the skylights. Virginia stepped closer, trailing her fingers down his arm. "Tell me, Lucas, are you just another pretty face, or do you actually know how to play?" Lucas met her gaze, his voice steady. "Depends on the rules." Virginia leaned in, her lips inches from his ear. "I make the rules." She walked away, slowly untying the sash of her robe as she stepped into the water. The silk fabric slipped from her shoulders, revealing a swimsuit that clung to her curves. She turned to face him, arching an eyebrow. "Well? Are you going to just stand there?" Lucas hesitated only a moment before pulling off his shirt and stepping in. The water was warm, but the atmosphere was electric. Virginia swam closer, letting her fingertips graze his chest. His breathing hitched, but he held his ground. "I see you're not so easily intimidated," she murmured. Lucas's hands found her waist, his grip firm but measured. "I told you, I play by the rules. But I also know when to bend them." Virginia's laughter was soft, teasing. "Good. Because this game is just getting started." As she pulled him closer, her lips barely brushing his, the tension between them crackled, a dangerous mix of power, temptation, and control. Virginia knew exactly what she was doing. And she could see in Lucas's eyes, he did too. And that only made the chase more thrilling. In the lavish penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights of New York shimmered against Vivian Carter's bare skin. She stood before the grand mirror in her bedroom, her sapphire eyes reflecting deep contemplation. Tonight, everything would change. After the wild nights with Lucas, the young man who was as intoxicating as a drug, she realized she had gone too far. Her life as a distinguished lady had suddenly spiraled into an endless cycle of pleasure and indulgence. Vivian had no regrets, but she knew every game had its price. She walked toward the mahogany table, where a one-way plane ticket to Paris lay neatly beside a glass of red wine. A chance to leave everything behind, to disappear before the truth unraveled. But Lucas was not going to let her go that easily. The doorbell rang. Vivian adjusted her black silk dress, its fabric clinging to her curves as she glided across the wooden floor. When she opened the door, Lucas stood there, his gaze burning with intensity. "You really thought you could leave without saying goodbye?" His voice was laced with both sarcasm and pain. Vivian smirked, raising her wine glass but not drinking. "What do you want, Lucas?" He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I want to know what you're choosing. A life of wealth and loneliness or a life of risk and passion?" Vivian let out a soft chuckle, placing the glass down. "Do you think we have a future?" Lucas closed the distance between them, his lips barely inches from hers. "I don't care about the future. I only care about now." Her heart pounded. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, the strength of his youthful hands as they traced along her silhouette, igniting every nerve in her body. But no, this time, she couldn't let herself be consumed. She gently but firmly pushed him away. "This isn't a fairy tale, Lucas. I have too much to lose." Lucas scoffed, stepping back. "What you're really afraid of losing is yourself." Vivian stiffened. He had seen right through her. Suddenly, her phone rang, slicing through the thick tension. She glanced at the screen. It was her husband, Richard Carter. Her breath caught for a moment before she answered. "Vivian, I know everything." Richard's voice was chillingly calm. Her blood ran cold. "I have all the evidence of you and that boy," Richard continued, his tone sharp as a blade. "But I'm giving you a choice. End this right now, and I'll stay silent. If not..." Vivian gripped the phone tighter. The unspoken threat was clear. If Richard exposed her, she would lose everything: her reputation, her fortune, her status. Lucas watched her, waiting. Vivian took a deep breath, her mind a whirlwind of conflict. She could run away with Lucas, live a life of passion but uncertainty. Or she could return to Richard, preserve her power and position, but lose herself forever. She had only one choice. Slowly, she brought the phone to her lips. "I understand, Richard." And then she hung up. Lucas shook his head, his expression laced with disappointment. "You're really choosing him?" Vivian didn't answer. She walked to the door, opened it, and looked at Lucas one last time. "Go, Lucas." Her voice was soft but resolute. He stared at her for a long moment before letting out a bitter chuckle. "I hope you won't regret this." Lucas turned and left, the door clicking shut behind him. Vivian remained standing, her heart weighed down like lead. She had chosen the safe path, but was it the right one? Beyond the window, the city lights shimmered like unfulfilled dreams. But for Vivian Carter, tonight, a part of her had died forever. The end.